Hello.
Sir.
So we can see you and we can hear you.
Okay, fine. That's fine.
Good morning, sir. How are you, sir?
Yeah. Good morning. Good morning. So have your trainees joined?
Yes, sir. They're already there. Close to 45 people are there. Some more may
Okay.
come. However,
Okay.
we'll start. A request to all the attendees.
I think there is a problem with we are not. You are not audible now.
Now it is fine, sir.
Now it is fine.
There's small disturbance in the connection, sir. No issue, sir.
Okay.
So we'll start in a minute, sir. Meanwhile, you can. We're going to make a presenter.
Yeah.
So am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, Jinath, you are audible. All good.
Okay, so start.
We'll start, Jinath. Let's start.
Okay. So good morning, one and all. I welcome you all to the 74th webinar of the Saturday webinar series by Managed CIA. Myself, Zinat, I'm working as content developer at Managed CIA. Talking about the Center for Innovation and Agripreneurship. The Center for Innovation and Agripreneurship is a center of excellence, and it's hosted at the National Institute of Agriculture Extension Management. And it's one of the leading agribusiness incubators in the country. And Managed CIA has till date incubated and mentored
Not audible.
Okay, sorry, there was some
Please
issue.
switch off your video. You are not audible. I think there is an
Yeah,
internet issue.
I have switched off my video. There is
No
some
issue,
network
Jinath.
issue.
It's okay. Let's start afresh.
Okay, so we were talking about, I was briefing you on the Center for Innovation and Agripreneurship. So the Center for Innovation and Agripreneurship is a center of excellence, which is hosted at the National Institute of Agriculture Extension Management. It is one of the leading agribusiness incubators in the country, and Managed CIA has till date incubated and mentored around 300 startups from various focus areas of agriculture and allied sector. And the topic for today's session is regulatory measures for food tech startups for food safety. We have two speakers joining us today. Our first speaker for the day is Dr. Sudarshan V. Rao. He is the former Deputy Director at National Institute of Nutrition. He's also part of FSSA panel on biological hazards. He has worked on various aspects of food safety, like development of methods for detection of adulterants, what are the factors that are influencing household food safety, development of PCR kits for detection of food safety. So I request our first speaker to take over the session. I also request all the attendees to use the chat box to raise question in the chat box to the respective speaker. We'll be taking up all these questions during our Q&A round from 11:40 to 12 p.m. Over to you, Sudarshan, sir.
Yeah. I'll just start sharing. Is it visible now, the slide?
All
Yes,
good,
sir,
sir.
it is
All
visible.
good.
Yeah. So good morning to everybody, and thank you, Manage, for giving me this opportunity to talk to the startups. So for today's this thing, I thought before you actually try to understand how to take license, all that, we should know what is food safety and how actually standards are maintained. Once you want to get into the food business, you need to know all these things. So I'll try to just brief you on those issues. So actually, many people do not understand. Actually, when you say food safety, they think that food should be free from contamination and and it should be absolutely only food, nothing else. So that is actually not the concept, and also it's not possible to have a food without any contamination. So the definition of food safety is it is a degree of confidence. One. Can I go back? Oh, yeah. So, yeah. So it is a degree of confidence that food will not cause sickness or harm to the consumer when it is prepared, served, and eaten according to its intended use. So the most important thing you should understand is that it is prepared, served, and eaten. So each one of this is a very important to ensure food safety, even at your household also. So once you understand this concept, and zero contamination is not the concept. So don't expect food to be free from any contamination. There will be contamination, but essentially it should not harm either in long term or short term should not create any health effect on the consumer. So that is the point. So many a time you must be hearing a lot of information, this thing on the newspapers and also TVs that everything is contaminated, adulterated. So adulterated is okay, is an issue, but contamination will be less, small contamination. But it is if it is within the limits that have been prescribed, that's a still fine. So why there is an increased concern now? I think you must be getting a lot of WhatsApp messages on your mobiles. So a lot of misinformation goes around, and you must have had this effect more during recent times in Corona also. So there is an increased concern. People are really looking at the food safety issue. So why? Because it's more than 200 diseases spread through food. And it can be a very simple vomiting, stomach upset, diarrhea to cancers also, because some of those contaminants can cause cancers. And the other one is that now, we have become global village. So food is coming from everywhere. So, the earlier dictum of saying that once food is others poison, what is okay for some population may not be okay for us. So we should be looking such things also when we are actually exporting or even importing. And increased outside eating, you say compared to maybe 20 years back, now our consumption of outside food is very high. So there is a chance of having this contamination or issues with food safety are much more. And as a nutritionist also, we always suggest people to have fresh foods, and because they are actually they'll insurance against the non-communicable diseases. So in fact, our consumption of fruits and vegetables is very low. So we want you to increase that. So when we tell people, then there is an issue with the fresh foods also, because they are not processed. There is no actually pasteurization or any further thing. You will be directly consuming. There the chance of contamination, getting the bacteria or pathogens into your system are much more, because they are the high risk foods. And I think maybe you must be seeing the early morning these days, people go for morning walk and then have some fresh fruit juices. So the chances of that getting contaminated are much more, because you are not doing any processing. And of course, beyond that, we also have the issues with the chemical contaminants, which are actually, we were not able to know them earlier because of the developments in the instrumentation. We are able to see them now. So that information also creates a problem for us to really look for food safety. So what are the major food safety concerns? If some of you are for startups are already having some business, you want to go for export or something like that, you should be knowing that contrary to your general perception, pesticide residues is not a concern. Most important thing, people all over the world will be worried about the microbiological pathogens. That means a salmonella or E. coli like issues are a major problem, because they cause around 90% of all the foodborne diseases are caused by these these micropathogens. Then comes, of course, misuse of additives, because additives will be without knowing, unknowingly, or sometimes ignorance, or sometimes for greed, they may be adding additives, misuse the additives. And of course, third one is definitely pesticide residues. And then comes veterinary drug residues. And then comes mycotoxins. Mycotoxins are the toxins which are produced by the fungus, because if your primary agriculture produce is not properly dried, then these fungus will produce these toxins. These toxins are all, some of them are carcinogens. That's why there is a concern. Of course, parasites issue with the non-vegetarian food, and the natural toxins are some of the toxins like in India we have a lathyrus. That's a dal. It also has some toxin. And then the other thing that people are worried all over the world will be some of the population don't want to consume genetically modified foods because they are not happy with the safety issues. They are not really sure that they are safe. Then zoonotic diseases are the diseases actually which are actually transmitted from the animal to man. Because you must have seen that bird flu many times. Whenever there is a scare of bird flu, people stop using chicken. Of course, this scientifically there is no, it's not well established. So because your processing will take care of those virus, but still people have this perception, so they stop consuming this chicken in those days. So that's an example. So the concept of food safety starts from farm to fork. So if you are a startup and you want to actually do food business, you should try to your raw material from raw farm, and finally what is going on to the consumer's kitchen, I mean the dining table, you have to see that, because at any time food can be contaminated. So you have to ensure that your raw material where you are sourcing, they should meet the requirements of food safety, which actually as a regulation it will come. So for that, what the governments will do, why this license or registration, all those things, is only to, the major objective of this type of regulation is to protect the public health by reducing the risk of foodborne illness and protecting consumers from unsanitary, because mislabeling, you must have seen Nestle's case where they have improperly labeled a product. So it was a big issue with maybe they have lost around 600 crores. And contributing to economic development, because once you have the confidence on the safety of the food that is being traded in our country because it will actually enhance your credibility and also the confidence on the food that is exported from India. So for that, all these things, to ensure all these things, there is a regulatory system. So effective food control systems will always try to see that they protect the consumers, the public health of the consumer. And if you have very good food control system, your trade is also will be very good, because maybe 20-25 years back, anything that is coming from India was not considered to be a good quality, and there were concerns about our hygiene, other things. Now we are actually getting out of that, so our exports are increasing. And WTO, because World Trade Organization, which actually we are members, many countries are members, so they actually try to check whether your food control systems are properly made, and they ensure the safety of the food that is produced or traded in India. And it will also improve the business and agro processing sector to realize. So because once you have this type of things in place properly, so the agro processing, which actually will realize its full business potential. That's what we are trying to do. Maybe this type of webinars will help in that way. And access to new trading market. Once you have these things, you can always look for something value addition, newer trade markets by value addition. So see, earlier, before this regulation came in 2008 and subsequently started getting implemented in 2011. So initially we had so many different acts, and all them have been put together. Now it's only one single Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. Otherwise, there was a lot of confusion. There was an overlap on these things. So all those things have been removed. Now we have a single window system where anything related to food, you have one authority that is called Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. The headquarters is in Delhi. So the mandate of this one is laying down science-based standards. Why we call it science-based standards is that once the science-based standards are there, you actually anywhere in the world you can they are accepted, because there is no bias on that. So the science is universal. Everybody will accept the fact, whatever is scientifically validated. So it will regulate the manufacture, storage, distribution, sale, import, to ensure availability of safe and wholesome food. So this is what you should be knowing, that how regulations. So when you want to get into food business, you should know, so what is the intent of this regulation. If you understand that, probably you will be able to easily comply with that. So this is what I said. 2006, they actually act was passed and regulations and implementation started in only 2011. So what is the intent of this regulation is that, so now earlier, as I told you, that we have gone beyond adulteration to food safety. Now that's what I said, from farm to forks. You can't say that what happened while they are growing agriculture produce or horticulture, so we are not bothered. So you can't say that, because when you are actually sourcing them, it has to, from that place, you have to ensure that till it reaches the consumer. And it is now more science-based, that means it's universally accepted. And we are more concerned about the safety rather than the vertical standard. But I'll come tell you that in a little later. So, and now self-regulation. This is where I think as a startups, you should understand your responsibility when you become food business operator. So these are the way, this is very important slide for you. So food can be contaminated from anywhere, from raw materials, the water, air, dust, soil, your waste disposal, rodents, insects. So all those things, at various time points of your food chain, all these things will come into force, and you should ensure. And the most important thing is a food handler himself can contaminate food, and also food contact material. Finally, you made a product, you want to package it. So packaging also can actually contaminate food. So there are standards for food grade packaging material. So you should be knowing all that, and you have to ensure that from any of these things, your food should not get contaminated. And that's where most critical component of, this thing, when we are trying to say the food safety. So how do you do that? If you use this good manufacturing practices, these are operational requirements necessary to enable a food business. So these operational requirements will vary. You can't tell what is the operational requirement for it. So depending upon the type of processing that you are doing, type of food business you are doing, so it can vary. So what it means is that essentially to produce food safely, that you should understand that. So when you do this business. And hygienic practice is very important, because I told you that 90% of all foodborne diseases are due to microbial contamination. Hygiene becomes very important. So that's why you have to see that you use the good hygienic practices. This actually more not only to the process, even to the food handler, because could be a major source of contamination. So what regulations require is, for taking all these criteria into account, FSSAI has developed a food standard. So these are set of criteria that it must meet. It is suitable for human consumption. Source, composition, appearance, additives, limits, everything is put into one standard. You should meet those requirements to get into the market. Okay, so you have, supposing you identify one product as your startup product. So you should see first what are the standards for those products, whether it is meeting those requirements of those standards. Then only you can think of going into the market. So as I was trying to tell you earlier, that there are two types of standards. One, that is a vertical standard. This is a product standard. Okay, so supposing if I say that the wheat as a raw agriculture product also has a standard, and it will have moisture, all those things as a vertical standard. But the horizontal standards are those things like contaminants which can come through the, either during the production or processing, or during any time of this process. So these are, for example, this wheat, we will have some mycotoxins also. So these are as I told you, some of them are a carcinogen. So they are a food safety issue. So maybe some contaminants like lead, cadmium, which are actually environmental contaminants, they also can come into your wheat. Okay, so you have to ensure that they are within the tolerable limits which are giving. So those things are considered to be horizontal standard. So this is universal, that food should be safe But vertical standard can vary depending upon the way you want to make your product. So vertical standards, as I told you, commodity standards. Example, I'm trying to give a basic example like wheat. I'll show you example. Then product specifications will be there. You know what should be the this thing. You know, if supposing wheat is there, what should be the
So,
okay, protein,
yes.
all that information.
Sudarshan sir,
Yeah. Are we getting
sorry
all?
to interrupt. Yeah, we have 2 more minutes.
But you have taken 5 of my time anyway. It's okay. Initially, right?
Okay, yes, right.
Yeah.
There was issue. Okay,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay, okay. So then food additives, because it can vary. So I just try to give you what a wheat, supposing you want to get into a primary food business. So you just want to sell wheat in the market. So what should be? So this is the standard. This is called vertical standard. So moisture not more than 14%, foreign matter, because during growth, harvest, something else also can come into your wheat. So all those things are the part of the standard. So similar for oil, because almond oil is a very, these days people are more want to have this because of the functionality. So for them also, there are standards. So these you are supposed to meet. The other horizontal standard that the horizontal standards are actually labeling, you know, because around 20 to 26% of all our exports get rejected because if they are not properly labeled. Because the importance of label is that is actually direct communication with consumer, because consumer will not be knowing what is inside unless what is written on the is very clear, you know, because that's very important. So many of our exports get rejected because if you are not properly labeling. And then food contaminants, as I told you, like environmental contaminants or pesticide residues, all those things also come here. And packaging, as I said, because it's also in food contact material, so the packaging also has to be food grade. So labeling will tell you whether it is a shelf life, safety, religious sentiments. If somebody has, you know, veg and non-veg, ethical, halal, non-halal. So all those things are part of labeling. Anything you miss here, it gets, they'll not even open the product. So they'll just reject your product because your label is not properly done. So food additives, there are tables given in this thing because during processing we'll be using a lot of chemicals which are called, these are technologically required for making a product. So they could be preservatives, food colors, antioxidants, artificial sweeteners, acidulants, emulsifiers, like that. It's a list is very big. They have given a list of these things in the table. So you should see that whether your product is permitted to have any of these things, and if so, what is the concentration. Even for pesticide residues, they have given the maximum. As I said, that it will not be zero. There will be some amount of residue. So those residues should be within the maximum residue levels that are given in the. So how do you ensure that they are within that? If you use good agriculture practice as per the agriculture departments, the specifications of spraying, other things, you will definitely be within that limit. Some of the toxic metals which come through environment, you know, they also, you have to ensure that they are within the tolerable limits. So most important is the lead. In Indian conditions, lead, cadmium, we have an issue. So arsenic is there in Bihar and northeast areas. It is there in the soil. So you should see that if you are procuring something from that place, you should look for that. And mercury is not a major problem. It is essentially comes in seafood. So I told you crop contaminants. So these are the issues if you are procuring something primary agriculture produce. So these toxins can be there because of the fungus there, which is produced because of high moisture. Similarly, even shrimps and prawns, all fish also, they'll be using a lot of antibiotics. So they are permitted. These are the permitted one, but they should be within the limits that have been prescribed in the regulation. So to conclude, to understand the intent of the regulation, so don't try to obviate. The objective is to ensure that the food that you are supplying to the consumer is safe. You know, that is the intent. And there are no shortcuts for ensuring food safety. You have to use GMP, GHP, and then your system has to be in proper position, this thing to ensure all those things. That's what I said, that you have to use this GMP. And self-regulation is the key. See, earlier there used to be, you know, the responsibility. We always used to keep on government saying that a food inspector is our food safety officer is the one whom we have to satisfy. Now it is not like that. So once the license or registration is given to you, it becomes your responsibility to see that the food that is produced is safe. Okay, so don't see that. So this this thing is surveillance is done to ensure that, but essentially the responsibility essentially rests with the food business operator. And there are so many things, because of the time, this thing I'm not able to explain to you, but there are a lot of newer regulations which actually allow you to do a lot of agri-food business in India, because our regulation was a little stringent earlier, but now we have opened it up, and but there is no compromise on food safety. So these things actually will help you if you want to explore to get into the food business. I think that is my last slide. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the session. We'll now quickly move on to the next speaker for the day, Dr. Preeti Pant. She's working as a professor and dean at School of Agriculture at Himalaya University, Dehradun. She holds a PhD in dairy technology and has immense teaching experience in the field of food safety. I request Dr. Preeti to take over the session.
So, good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Preeti Pant from Himalaya University, Dehradun. Thank you, Zeenath, and thank you, Manoj, for inviting me. Today, I am telling about the Fssi licensing. So, Zeenath, I want to share my PPT.
Yes, ma'am. We'll make you the presenter.
Yeah.
Already done, ma'am. Try sharing.
Is it visible?
Ma'am, it is visible. You can put it in slideshow mode.
Yeah. Is it in slideshow?
Not exactly, but it's in reading mode. Slideshow mode is like the other extreme right
It's okay.
corner.
It's as good as anything. No issues.
Okay.
Ma'am, we can good to go, ma'am. Preeti, ma'am, can you hear us? You are
Yeah,
on mute.
I am starting. Just.
Please, no issues, ma'am. No issues. Meanwhile, I request all the participants, either you can raise your hand or use chat. Any questions you are having with the speakers today.
So today I am telling about the regulatory measures for food technology, startups for food safety, and I think it is hanging. Just a minute, please.
Should we share it from our end, ma'am? You can focus on presentation.
Is it okay in
It's
this
okay,
kind
ma'am.
of?
It's okay. It's
Is it
okay.
okay?
Let's continue.
Okay,
Let's
okay,
continue.
okay. So today I'm telling about the FSSAI licensing and FOSTEC trainings. So FSSAI licensing is and the basic aim is to focus on the public health and provide safe food to the consumers by formulating the controlling procedures, implementation of measures to eliminate the toxic and hazardous elements present in the food, and various malpractices like fraud, adulteration, misleading claims, and other exercises that double cross the consumer should be strictly prohibited. So, FSSAI, as we know, that the Food Safety and Standard Authority of India, which is the prime authority to make sure that safe food should be provided to the consumers. When we talk about the FSSAI food licensing, this is the most important thing before starting up a food business in India, and the process of the application for the food license by various food business operators already has been defined by FSSAI, and all the participants here, as they want to start their food business, they can go through the website of the FSSAI, and they can get all the information regarding food licensing there. So the FSSAI rules for food license is that the person who are performing in the field of trading, wholesale, retail, raw material, export, import, raw material supply, manufacturing, production, processing, packaging, transportation, distribution, or storage of food products. That means it includes all the aspects of food business. They need to obtain 14-digit FSSAI registration or FSSAI license. And as they get this 14-digit registration or license, the true copy of that license should be visible at the prominent place in premises of the food business. Next one is the all the business required to print that number on the packaging of the product, as well as they have to print that number on the bill of the product also. So various from this picture you can see that the various businesses which require FSSAI and registration certificate, these are the hotels, food importers, exporters, the transporters, retailers which have the retail outlets, food canteens, dairy processing, food chains, sellers and resellers, restaurants, wholesalers, suppliers, processed food manufacturers, and packaged food. So you can say that all the kinds of food businesses required this licensing or registration. So there I am using two terms, the license and registration. So the types of FSSAI registration is based on basically on the turnover of that particular food business organization. There are three types of license or registration, that is a basic license, state license, and central license. Basic license, the food business operators who has the turnover lower than 12 lakhs. State licenses for those FBOs who have turnover between 12 lakh to 20 crores, and central license for those FBOs whose turnover is more than 20 crores. Okay, so on the basis of this turnover, the FBOs has to take the registration or license. Basic license, the FBOs whose turnover is below 12 lakhs, they need to get the registration, and they have to fill the form A for that. It is issued by state government and for 1 to 5 years. Similarly, for state license, form B is filled, and it is also issued by state government, and central license is issued the FBOs have to fill the form B. It is issued by central government. Okay, and the FBOs who are applying for the central license, and they have their branches in various states, they have to apply for the license for their head office only, and they can, if they are operating in more than one state. So, but they have to take the license for their head office only. Okay. Next, from this PPT, you can see that the three types of registration or license. And basic FSSAI registration is essential for petty food businesses. Central license is for large food businesses, and state license is for medium food businesses. Various documents which are required for basic FSSAI food license. These are the passport size photograph, latest passport size photograph of the applicant, ID proof, which may be voter ID card or Aadhaar card, PAN card, address proof, which may be telephone or mobile bill, electricity or gas bill, copy of the property papers if that premises, if they are the owner of that premise, and copy of rent agreement and NOC letter from the landlord if they are working in the rented building. This is the list for the documents for FSSAI state license. Form B, duly filled by the proprietor, then blueprint or layout of that area, proof of possession of premises, partnership affidavit if they are working in the partnerships, contact details of the directors, list and details of the type of equipments and machineries, photo ID, address proof, list of food category that has to be manufactured, authority letter with name and address of the responsible person, NOC, no objection certificate, and copy of license from the manufacturer, food safety management system plan or certificate. This is important. This FSMS plan is required for state license and for the central license. FSMS, that means which includes the GMP, GHP, HACCP and other certification programs which they have to implement in their premises for the production of safe food. GMP, GHP has explained by Dr. Rao, and it is a very vast topic. Food safety itself is a very vast topic which can be taken in another lecture. But here I am telling about the licensing. Basically, I am telling about the licensing. This is the list for the documents required for FSSAI central license, which all the participants can see. I will, if they require, I will share the PPT. I will send the PPT and they can see from that PPT also. Next is food licensing registration procedure. The important points are that it is mandatory that all the FPOs has an active mail ID and telephone number. Then business name of that respective FPO must be spelled out correctly, because that spelling or that name will be printed on their registration certificate or their license certificate. So they have to spelled out properly their FPO name. After the successful submission of the application, unique reference ID is issued by the FSSAI. By using that particular unique reference ID, the applicants are that is required for further communication. Next and last step is the payment of the prescribed fees, which is given by the demand draft. Next is process of getting license. First one is the filling up of the form, then verification, third one is the completion, and fourth one is the getting the license. So form A or form B, which is required as according to their license or registration, is filled by the applicant with self-attested declaration, which is according to the guidelines of the FSS Act. photo identity proof like Aadhaar card, which I have told earlier, driving license or voter ID card, passport, extra, the documents, all the documents which are required should be attached. Then after receiving the application, the food safety officer or other officer come to the premise in order to make sure that you have disclosed all the information which is submitted is correctly or not. After successful inspection, if they are satisfied, they will issue a license in your favor, and the license should take not more than 60 days to reach you. If this is the important point, if more than 60 days have passed and if you have not received the food license, you can resume your business without waiting for any further notice. Yeah, this is the important point. It is not necessary that you are waiting, just you are waiting and waiting for your license or your registration. Within 60 days you will get the license or registration from the authority. But if it takes more than 60 days, you can start your business. So in this picture, this is the procedure for FSSAI licensing or registration. The filling up of the application, unique application reference number, which you will get from the authority, required additional information on incomplete application, unique application ID, inspection of premises after receiving application and issue inspection report, grant of license if all formalities completed within 60 days. But the 3 points are also there. If no response, if you get no response after giving the required information, FBO may start the business after 60 days. Next is, if no inspection is done by the authority, FBO may start the business after 60 days. Similarly, if inspection report not processed, then also FBO may start their business after 60 days. Okay, so this is the important point. Now, if the officer gave the improvement notice to the FBO, and if no improvement is there, the application get be suspended or the license get be suspended. After that, no improvement is there, then cancellation can be done for your license or your registration, and you have to fill fresh application after 90 days, and again you will fill the application form, deposit the fee, and again this process will be there. Next is the validity and renewal of food license. As I have told earlier, that license is valid for the period of 1 to 5 years. Renewal of food license must be applied from either Form A or B before 30 days of the expiry of the existing registration. Any FSSAI renewal application filed beyond the expiry date subjected to a late fee of ₹100 for each delayed day. This is the important point, ₹100 for each delayed day. So FBO has to apply for renewal of the registration or license before 30 days of the expiry of the existing registration or license. Okay, so next is in case of expiry of the food license, FBOs mandatorily terminate all business activities at the premises. This is also the very important point. That means if the license is expired and they are not getting the renewed license, they have to terminate all the business activities at their premise. Transfer of the issued FSSAI license. That means in the case of death of the license holder, the transfer of the FSSAI license can be done to legal representative or any other family member of the deceased. It is mandatory for the next holder to apply to the concerned authority to transfer the license in his name, and then there will be the verification process. Again, there will be the verification process, and after successful verification, the application can either be approved or refused by the authority. Okay, and after the successful verification, the license will be transferred to the legal representative of the license holder. Suspension and cancellation of food license. Food license can be suspended, can be cancelled if these kind of activities are there in the food business organization. Food poisoning outbreaks which are associated with the spread of the disease, serious food complaints of the FBOs, non-compliant premises, okay, or if there is a serious violation of FSSAI rules and compliances, violation in case there is a history of non-compliance of FSSAI safety rules and requirements, non-compliance with an improvement or other legal notice without reasonable excuse, and interrupting an officer. So these are the points in which the license or registration can be suspended or cancelled. Next is initial signs for suspension or cancellation of the food license. If there is any violation from the rules and regulations of the FSSAI, FBO is advised to act upon the rectified problems and take the corrective measures. If violation is very crucial, which has a serious impact on the health of the consumers, then notice is issued to the FBO. Inspection is done of the FBO premises, which may be directed within 14 days of the suspension of license. Post-inspection, authority will review the inspection report, take a further decision of cancelling or suspending the license by taking the points the different points, the shortcomings or failures mentioned were yet not resolved. FBO does not comply with the details of the improvement notice, and the food being manufactured is not suitable for the human consumption. So that means after giving the notice to the FBO, if they don't resolve, if they don't improve the conditions of their FBO or their premises, their license or registration can be suspended and even cancelled by the authority. These are various points through which the license or the registration can be suspended. These are food product which is not as per quality of FSSAI, or the FBO is providing the substandard food, misbranded food, misleading advertisement, selling food consisting extraneous matter, operating without FSSAI license, failure to comply with FSSAI safety and health measures, failure to comply with FSSAI directions, adulteration, production of unsafe food, false information, interfering with seized products, harassing the food officer, and any subsequent offenses. So if these kind of situations are found in any food business organization, their license or their registration can be suspended and cancelled. These are various fines which can be given to various FBOs. If food quality is not compliance, the fine may be of 2 lakhs for petty 2 lakh, and for petty manufacturer it is 25,000. Substandard food 5 lakh, misbranded food 3 lakhs, misleading advertisement 10 lakh, extraneous matter is present in food, then 1 lakh is the penalty. Failure to comply with the food safety officer directions 2 lakh, penalty is 2 lakh. Unhygienic processing or manufacturing, penalty is rupees 1 lakh. So this is the list of the various penalties which can be given by the FBOs if they are not providing safe food to their consumers as according to the rules and regulations of FSSAI. If they are not following the FSS Act or the various other acts, if they are not following the GMP and GHP and other certification. Okay, so these are the list of the penalties. Now, next point is the FOSTEC, that is Food Safety Training and Certification. It is told by the FSSAI that there is at least one trained and certified person in every food business premises. One trained, this is the food safety supervisor. One trained food safety supervisor on every 25 workers in which are working in the FBOs. Okay, so there are 3 types of FOSTEC trainings. These are the basic, advanced, and special. Basic FOSTEC is for the street food vending, basic catering, basic retail and distribution, basic storage and transport, basic manufacturing. Similarly, advanced catering, advanced retail and distribution, advanced storage and transport, and advanced manufacturing. And special FOSTEC is for the FBOs who are working in the field of milk and milk products, meat and poultry, fish and seafood, packaged water, oil, and bakery. Okay, so these are different types of FOSTEC trainings. By taking this FOSTEC training, the participant or the trainer get the certificate of food safety supervisor from FSSAI. All the participants can go through my YouTube links. These are for the FSSAI licensing part 1, 2, and FOSTEC training part 1 and 2. By following these YouTube links, my videos on YouTube, you can go through deeply in this licensing and the FOSTEC trainings. Okay, so
Thank you.
thank you so much,
Thank
all
you very
of
much,
you.
ma'am.
Okay.
Sure, ma'am. Shall we start with question and answer, ma'am?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Ma'am, the first and foremost important question is, are there any special provisions for startups? Generally, we have provisions for recognized startups in terms of income tax filing, in terms of IP patenting. Are there any specific provisions for startups in food safety or FSSAI licensing, ma'am?
For the startups, basically, first of all, they have to take the registration or they have to take the license. Okay, for the food startups, basically. And as I have told in my PPT that registration is for the petty vendors, as if they are starting their business, their food, the participants or the trainers who are there in this particular session, if they are going to start their business, they will apply for the registration because their turnover is below 12 lakhs. Okay, and the fee for the registration is rupees 100 only. Okay, and they have to apply for this registration through the website of the FSSAI. So firstly, it is important. Firstly, the taking the registration or taking the license.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Sudarshan Rao, sir, there is one question from participants. Sir, bio-fortified fortification crops are there. When they are dealing with that, is there any, when they are coming out with these products, value-added products or primary products, are there any dedicated separate licensing are there for bio-fortification, sir?
No, no, no. So only thing it comes under claims, because they will have higher nutrient contents. So when you have that compared to other products, you can always make a claim, and that claim will become value addition for the product.
Okay, but government side, when they're issuing licensing, there will not be any differentiation.
No difference, no bifurcation.
Okay, okay, okay. What about organic, sir? It's the same with organic also?
No, organic, FSSAI has a organic license. Actually, you can, you have to meet the requirements of that registration. So once you have that, you can use a logo, which is available with the FSSAI. So organic logo you can use, and that will actually great value addition for your product. Yes.
Sorry.
Hello. మీ వైపే పోయినట్టుంది. Okay, fine.
So it's basically whenever they're applying for
Okay.
FSS, since we heard that a lot of time it is taking basically.
Now, just now I think the
Any tips or
madam
any
has-
suggestions for the startups while applying for the license? They can get this faster, sir?
Yeah, that no, she has explained, that 60 days is this thing, beyond which they'll automatically declared as licensed, So
Yeah,
maximum
they,
time.
they have to, as Dr. Sudarshan is saying that the startups or the food business operators should wait only for the 60 days after applying for their license or for their registration. After 60 days, this is the process of FSSAI that they will take the 60 days for the generation of the unique ID and for the inspection or the verification. Okay, and all the documentation process are there. But if there is more than 60 days, the FBOs can start their manufacturing at their premise. They should not wait for more than 60 days.
Okay, ma'am, there is a dedicated question for you, Anna, fast tag. That
Yeah.
and that who and how can they get this, ma'am?
Pardon, actually, your voice was cut. So please repeat the question.
Okay. FOSTSE, fast tag certificate. Can you please elaborate on that? Who can get it? What is the process to get it?
Okay, that the FBOs can get that this fast track certificate from the training partners of the FSSAI. FSSAI itself don't organize this certification program. They have various training partners at all over the India, and through those training partners, the FBOs can get the certificate or can do this training program and get the certificate from the portal of the FSSAI. As I am with the organization, which is also a training partner of the FOSTEC trainings. This is the International Institute for Technical Teachers. I can give the details of this organization in the WhatsApp group, and you can distribute the detail of that particular organization to all your participants here.
Thank you very much, ma'am. There is one more question. There is a herbal tea startup is there. They're asking question. They're basically a startup cannot spend lot of money and licensing. What kind of affordable licensing you can suggest for them? A herbal tea startup.
This is the herbal tea startup, but as I have told, they have to register themselves. They have because they are just starting their business and their turnover is below 12 lakhs. So they have to apply for the registration. They have to fill the form, which they can get from the website of the FSSAI. They have to apply for the registration. The fee is for rupees 100 only. All the document they have to attach in their application, and after 60 days they will get the registration. So they should apply for the registration, FSSAI registration, basic registration.
What about export component, ma'am? In general, how export will deal with FSSA. Can you please elaborate on that?
Export
Sudarshan sir,
duty.
you also.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. No, you see,
Both can answer, sir. Both can answer, please.
yeah. I'll just try to answer. So any export, it has to be central license. Okay. So they have to get central license only. So there is no registration or state license for that. They have to go to the central license and they have to meet the requirements of central license.
Yeah.
Hello?
And
Yes.
all the documents which are required for the central licensing, I have given the list in my PPT there. They have to attach all the required documents for their central licensing. And the fee, I think, Dr. Sudarshan, the fee is, I think, 5,000 to 7,000 for the central license.
Central license, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So there are multiple questions which are deep down into the same topic and training partners, how they become training partners. We'll be sharing the contact details of both the speakers. Kindly write to them, or you can write to manage also. We have given our mail ID there, so we'll be able to facilitate the same. So we'd like to thank our both the speakers for today for sharing elaborately and very precisely the kind of licensing is required. So I do agree that is a little kind of technical for many of the participants. However, we are going to share the PPTs and contact details of our speakers today, so that any clarification you require to take it forward, you'll be able to do that. Thank you very much. In case you want to write to manage, please write to us. We would like to make sure your answers are addressed and addressed in its entirety. So would like to thank our Director Agriculture Extension, Dr. Chandras, for being this happen. To thank all our attendees here today. We've seen large number of attendees coming and attending these things. Would like we'd sincerely hope would continue your support for our upcoming webinars also. Thank you very much. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you, Manoj, and thank you, Zina. Thank you, all the participants. And I will share my number and my mail ID to Zenith and to the Manoj, and any participant can contact me for further details. Also, they also can contact me for FOSTEC trainings. Thank you so much.